So right now we're going to talk about, to kick off the financial close, I'm going to talk about how it is incredibly important not to judge a book by its cover. And it's really kind of sometimes hard to do because as humans, we're just naturally judgmental beings, and we're very quick to judge somebody of how they dress, of how they look, of how they act, of how they talk, etc. So we really want to be really careful that we don't judge a book by its cover because, very bluntly put, it could cost us the sale. And if that's too hard of a way to put it, then I'll word it differently and say, at a minimum, it could cost you that patient making the decision to say no to your office and going down to the office, the other 4 offices down the street, and choosing their office for those 6, 8, 10, 20 veneers, whatever the case might be. So they say that a very intelligent man or woman will learn from another person's mistakes. So I'm going to share one of the mistakes that I made early on in my career, and it was judging a book by its cover, and learn from my mistake and how not to ever do it again or do it in your office, because again, it could cost you at a minimum the decision of the patient to choose your office to do their treatment in. So my story is about a gentleman, and let's call him Bob. Bob came into my office, and Bob was very incredibly cliche janitor. And early on in my career, I sold a lot of cosmetics, and at that time, Lumineers had first come out, and we were selling a ton of Lumineers. And it was late towards the end of the night, and Bob came in, and he literally was a blue collar worker, had the baby blue collar janitor shirt on with the blue, like dark blue badge, knitted badge with Bob written in white. And I judged a book by its cover. And I said, selling a lot of Lumineers at the time. And I said, there's no way. This is really expensive. Bob's a janitor. He's never going to be able to afford this stuff. Mistake number 1. So I rushed him through the paperwork. It was late at night. I was ready to go home. I knew that I was prejudging a book by its cover. I knew that there was no chance that Bob was going to be able to do any of this stuff because he was a janitor. And again, I was being a total jerk about that. So learn from my mistake. But so we got him back in there. We did the exam. I rushed him through. And at the end of it, I was like, okay, so this is going to be $10,000. And I'm like, let's go, and I didn't say let's go, but I'm like, okay, come on. And he goes, okay. And I said, okay. And he said, okay. And he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out like a stack of cash. And I think he had $6,000, $6,000 in his pocket, cash. And then instead of going like, okay, well, this could work and stop judging the book by the cover, I did it again. And I said, okay, well, this is $10,000. I'm going to probably have to get them approved through like Care Credit or whatever we were using at the time. And I said, okay, well, we're going to have to get this other, $4,000 for you. And he said, okay. And I said, okay. And he said, okay. So then we run his third-party financial agreement, and all of a sudden he gets approved for like, I don't know, like $5,000-6,000, like even more than he needed for the 4K. And then he's signing off on it. And before he knew it, we're taking all the impressions, boom, 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 done. And I felt like a total jerk because I totally judged a book by its cover. And I treated Bob totally different than I would have treated anybody else in that practice if they had come in dressed in a suit or had anything else. And again, you would be really, really surprised. That's why we got to make sure that we always treat every single patient the same exact way, because even if they don't do it today, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're never going to be able to do that. So the other thing too is that we always want to never miss an opportunity to plant a seed, and one of the easiest ways to be able to do that is through place books. So if you've never heard of a place book, it's basically so let's say you're doing Lumineers or Invisalign or whatever the case, whatever it is that you are, they probably have stock images that you can use until you build your own. But as quickly as possible, start taking before and obviously with the written permission from the patient, but start taking before and after pictures of the of your actual cases and build what's called a place book. The place book would have a before and after, before of the case on top, after on the bottom. Even to protect identities, you could just do the face. If you can get that written permission from the patient and actually do there's a much different smile from somebody before a cosmetic case than there is after. So if you can get that full face, that'd be even better. And then it's even best if you can get a written testimonial on the right-hand side. You build a book. Let's say you have 15 cases, 20 cases. You put it in a very nice presentable book, place book, and you lay that down on the actual chair. So when the patient actually walks in, everybody's buried in their cell phones anyways, and even if you're running boom, 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 you never have anybody wait, there's a really good chance that they're probably going to wait 1 to 3 minutes. So they still have the chance to reach down, to sit in the chair, they have to reach down, pick up that book, put their cell phone to the side, and then start flipping through it. You're planting those seeds for them to be able to ask you more about a wider, straighter smile, veneers, lumineers, whatever the case might be. At least you'll be able to showcase your work and put yourself in the expert position and very easily get them to ask you, how do I get this done? Obviously, very easily increasing your productions as well. So like I mentioned just a second ago, a no doesn't necessarily mean no forever. It may just mean, no, I can't do it right now for XYZ reason, but in 2 years, I'm all yours because I just got a divorce. I'm now on the dating market again. I need to get the prettiest, straightest smile out there so I can peacock and make sure that everybody knows that I'm out there. I'm all yours. And at the same time, my kid just finished whatever it was that was costing me a ton of money. So now I'm completely all yours. So the other thing too, on a final standpoint on don't judge a book by its cover, is especially because we talked about frequency in the last slide, is that if they did show interest in a straighter smile, a wider smile, and they haven't done those veneers, those clear aligners, whatever the case might be, they haven't done that whitening, always bring that up at a frequency level. People might think, well, gosh, I'm bugging them every 6 months. 6 months is so long, or even like at a perio maintenance, 3-4 months, whatever the case might be. It's so long for them to forget about what you talked about. The average human being will forget about 75% of what you taught them within 24 hours. And by the end of the next week or so, it's completely gone. That's why you have to revisit things. So again, the human brain, I can't stress that enough. The human brain works off of a frequency level, and it is so incredibly important to remind them about that, about what they wanted. So if they're not asking on the next visit, if you took really good notes, that's another thing that we really highly suggest at Patrick Consulting Group, is that you take as good of notes as possible, so then you can easily bring that up very naturally the next time. So if they talked about a straighter, wider smile, whatever the case might be, filling in that number 8, number 9, whatever it is, then you could bring it up. Like, have you thought any more about that whitening that we talked about? Have you thought any more about those veneers that we talked about? Have you thought any more about that implant for that front tooth that we talked about so we can improve your smile? Whatever the case might be. And again, we have to constantly remember that, people's lives are changing, and 6 months is a really long time. So, let's say, the patient comes in and they were totally comfortable. I don't need to fill in that, number 8. I don't need to fill in that front tooth. I'm fine with it. But now that patient's daughter's getting married, and his daughter's kind of like, Dad, you got to fix that tooth. You can't be in these pictures like this. Now he's a lot motivated to be able to do that. So if you're simply bringing that up at the elective procedures, there's a really good chance that follow-up is going to kick in, and you're going to be able to do that. Again, increasing the production and making it a lot easier for the patients to always say yes to you for the treatment that they're doing.